That's what yeah. Okay.
I don't like these chairs, but that chair's full of dirt, so I'll just stay here.
There's a chair over there. There's one.
You won't be here that long.
Well, that's good.
There's not a lot going on today.
We are alive, guys.
Just let you guys know, the ambulance, we put his claims in for his rent. Because he didn't get those turned in time before I ran this, so there's an additional $5,400.
Normal monthly.
Yeah, the three that we paid $1,800 to, so
Okay.
that's the only change.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's now to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. First thing we have is the approval of agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, is there a
There's
motion?
no additions or changes on the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, next we have is approval of the minutes of last week. Is there any additions or corrections?
If there are no additions or corrections, I'll make a motion. I thought they read well. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. For the meeting of April 19th.
I'll say. Okay, it's been moved and second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, the first thing we have on the agenda is the GIS quarterly report.
Good morning, thanks for having me, guys. A big project I had in January was our dispatch change from Intrado to Geocon. So we had a lot of ESN numbers change, which was a huge project for me. It was also really fun, got me to dig into the guts of it all. I did a lot of data help for FFA. Their CAD drawings have been really, really awesome. So the ISU extension office has needed a lot of help with GIS. Created new database for the assessor's office. I'm also had met with the engineer's office and they're creating them one to keep up their utility permits. So that way they have an interactive drawing on GIS, not just their books. And it makes it easier for them to find what they're looking for. And I attended a meeting in Des Moines where I was chosen to present at ITAG in June, which is the IT GIS get together since we don't go to fall school for ISAP and do ITAG. And then there was that correction to the workflow with the emails. It was going to the wrong supervisor. I fixed all that.
Any other questions for her?
How was it going? Going good. Learning a lot of new stuff. Kind of nervous to present. I heard that they wouldn't have chosen me to be able to do it. So not a busy work finishing. We had a lot of splits this quarter too, so a lot of splits with conversation changes. Yeah, how the market is moving. So there's been a lot of those changes in the country.
Well, I just want to thank you for putting the, when you send the plats out, you send the both versions of in the same email. That's really nice.
The picture and the.
Yeah, the aerial picture plus the plat itself.
Before it used to come separate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What are you presenting that?
I'm creating program for geocaching where I'm gonna do a scavenger hunt and show others how they can create these applications within GIS to maybe, you know, help with their DNR and their roads. Like you can put points in, but we make it fun, like a scavenger hunt and have them pre-programmed, so it makes it easy for them to find their problem for the past. Like a bench is broken or like a piece of sidewalk, and they have to find it with their app.
Your geocom for the layman, what does that do?
So it basically tells dispatch where they need to go and puts them right within. So X amount of feet. Well, we had contradicting DSS with Entrado, where they're the same as other parts of the state. So now they've got new numbers. So rather than just, you know, find and switch, I had to show both of them to keep our data correct. And Geocom is now going to GIS, where we're not going to have a digital MTAG, we're going to have a GIS MTAG. So we work really closely over the next couple of months to correct all errors within the county for Geocom.
That would make it unique to our county.
Yeah, unique and specific to our county.
Very good.
Okay, any other questions for him? Okay, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, discuss the Soft Trail State Grading Project 20.
Okay, just a couple introductions here real quick. I brought some people along with me. Jack Liddell, my colleague in the city of Carroll, Tom Farner, he's probably one of our biggest trail advocates. So recently, if you know or don't know, the DOT just released $5 million in what they're calling COVID-19 relief recreational trails program. So it's $5 million in new dollars out there. And one of the reasons we kind of want to jump on this, historically, state rec trails and federal rec trails almost exclusively fund new trail projects. So it's really hard to get those dollars for resurfacing, rehab type work. When we did the Swan Lake paving around the lake a few years ago, we did get $250,000, which I'll share those numbers with you just as kind of a refresher here on that. But, so that was kind of a rarity, but still that only covered about a third of the project. So with this program, there's $5 million available, and it specifically states in there that rehab resurfacing projects will be considered. And they're always considered, but they never score very high. So we're hoping maybe this $5 million would be maybe geared more towards resurfacing. We got a pretty good shot at landing some of those dollars. So this is kind of a quick turnaround, so I apologize for that, but applications are due May 17th. Chris Whitaker, Region 12, and write up the grant for us. So projects, if approved, must be completed by the end of September of 2023. So we've got a little time to do the projects. It's just getting the applications in by May 17th. So a couple years ago, we had applied for a project. JDO did some engineering for us, some preliminary design and stuff. Basically, what we have left on our trail system, we paved around Swan Lake, that's all concrete. Back when Obama was president, we got the $1 million to pave from Maple River up to Carnarvon, that's all concrete. Our only asphalt section of trail left, and the oldest section of trail is from Swan Lake up to Maple River. So what they did a couple years ago, they broke that down into 2 phases. Basically from Swan Lake up to Houlihan Access, which was about 2.2 miles. And that's what we tried to get funding to cover a few years ago. And then from Houlihan Access up to Maple River, which was another 4 miles. So those are, when I pass this stuff around, those are the 2 phases. We met last week with Chris Whitaker on kind of what would be a good game plan for doing this. These dollars are earmarked for projects between 500,000 and 1.2 million. So the project has to fall within those guidelines. So we're kind of hoping what Chris was, what he thought would be the best is apply for, shoot for $1 million project, which basically would not get all the way to Maple River, but it would probably get maybe roughly 4 miles done. We're updating those numbers right now, so we don't have exact numbers. We're trying to see where we can get for $1 million. And obviously, most of that is, a good chunk of that's going through the city of Carroll. So Jack and Mike came together. Hopefully they're kind of maybe a player in this a little bit too. So I'm just going to pass this around real quick.
So you're thinking you would probably go further than the,
Well,
than,
phase one was 2.2 miles. That's fine. These two maps are phase one and phase two. Just so you can kind of see where we're going. Well, there is.
two different maps?
Yeah, phase one, up in the right-hand corner, it says phase one, and phase two.
Okay.
This is how it broke down when we did it a couple of years ago. On the phase two map, there's a red dot kind of in the center of that yellow line. That would be up by commercial coolers, Carroll coolers, or whatever they're called now. We're hoping maybe depending on where the numbers fall, maybe we can get from Swan Lake up to that point. That would be roughly about where it is, 4 miles. And then that would leave us 2.2 miles to get up to Maple River, which would be a smaller project, maybe more doable in the future. We'll have to see where those numbers, adjusted numbers come in at. But at any rate, what we're looking at doing is hopefully applying for $1 million worth of project and see where that gets us. So because typically local match dollars always obviously make grant applications look much better. Typically state rec and federal rec trails grants have a local match component of 20%. So $1 million project that would make the grant application basically $800,000 and the local match of $200,000. And I think if we could get there, that would be a pretty good, I think that would make the grant application look a lot better. I think we would have a better chance if we could show that we have 20% already spoken for. I guess at the local level, I think the chances of getting a grant would be a lot better. So basically what I guess my request is to this board, if we could use 100,000 from local option or wherever we want to get it from, earmark that for this project. And it could be, like I said, this is going into 23, so it could be obviously FY 23. It wouldn't have to be an FY 22. It could be out in year that. So FY 22 is pretty final. So it could be something we look at in FY 23. And I know there's been some talk that the city might kick in some money too. I'm not going to speak specifically for them, but I'll let Mike and Jack talk about that. I'm sure there hasn't been any decisions made, but
Yeah, I mean, when we met last week, the discussion was, I would work with council and try and get us to match that. And whenever you're getting federal dollars, to these projects. More affordable for the local level, I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. So we're having those conversations right now. I think that would be something that's very doable for the city. We support the trail.
And then, so in addition to that, obviously, if we could use 100,000, if the city would throw in 100,000, that would make that 200,000 local match at 20%. Obviously, we, the conservation board, would do as much of the in-kind work as we can, like we typically do, to take money out of the project, you know, that we could do that would actually, you know, more than we could use to actually do it, actually paving the trail. Things like shouldering work, the seeding, signage, if there's any trail removal that needs to come out. What we're looking at doing on this, if you look through there, there's a bunch of alternate projects on how they're gonna do it. I think the one we kind of landed on was alternate number 3, which is putting basically the trails, they think in decent enough shape that we can go right over the top of it with concrete, but they want to put like a geotextile fabric in between as a barrier between the two. They talked about using rock too, which is another alternate, but the fear is that a lot of that sits in a floodplain, so there could be a potential for that rock to wash off from under there. So I think we kind of really would rather go with the geotextile and not just a fabric. It keeps a barrier between the two, so they don't adhere to each other. And that trail underneath can float and move and stuff, and it won't affect the new trail. So that's kind of the alternate we landed on, and that's what we're looking at. But,
So around Swan Lake, you ground up the trail.
we did.
So is that a consideration this time, or?
It would be, but the deal with Swan Lake is we had a lot of, instead of the transverse cracks that go across, we had a lot of longitudinal cracks. So the trail was doing this a lot. So their fear there was if we just went over that, keep settling and doing, it was not what we were shooting. So, and what they're gonna do on this, in these proposals, there are some bad areas that they're gonna take out. The hill going down in the Rolling Hills Park from Pleasant Ridge Road to down, that's a very bad hill. Completely remove that. And there's a couple other areas where they're gonna take some out. There's some other areas where they're gonna do reinforcement, like rebar reinforcement over some areas. So that's all figured into this already. As far as the whole grinding of it going on, they don't think that.
How are you gonna completely remove that hill? Just cut it out?
Cut it out and haul it out.
Just have a gradual?
So let me clarify this year, you're talking 100,000 from town, right?
Yes.
That's to figure like 50,000 from local option, 50,000 capital projects.
We could do that. Also, we figured in, so the total estimated that we would have as far as those in-kind things that we were gonna do for phase 1 was about 56,000. In phase 2 would be 83,000. There would be a combination of that depending on where we get. I guess what I would like to do is if we could use 100,000 out of local option. As you can see on the Swan Lake one, even when it was all said and done, we still used 158,000 out of our capital projects to finish the project. And I guess I would rather, if there's shortcomings anywhere, or if the grant request comes back, we don't get the full 800,000, save our capital projects money to fill in where we need to on the backside if we come up short. Or if, obviously, with any project, there's always change orders and things you run into. So I guess that's what I would like to see done.
So that's a change versus CMOS.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
It is.
the email we have is.
I went back and looked at, yeah,
That's what I wanted.
Now it's 100, I just curious where that was.
I went back over the weekend and kind of ran some numbers on the same kind stuff and what that was gonna come up to cost them and I went back and looked at our trail numbers from Swan Lake. So as you can see on the Swan Lake one, you guys did, this board provided 75,000 for that. And that was 3.8 miles. And obviously that's been a few years ago, so obviously prices are quite a bit more than they were then. So. But I'm hoping we can still get somewhere close to that 4 mile range done if we can get.
Chris Whitaker made a comment to us when we met last week that having both the county and the city, if they can help support it, it drives that grant a long way. It gives you good points. And that'd be important. And I think once we get this paid, it's gonna be good for a long time. Asphalt, it's held up, but it's cracked. It's dangerous in some spots, especially one down in the rolling hill. Someone's gonna catch, one of those thin tires is gonna catch it. There's gonna be a lawsuit somewhere. But I think once we get this, and we don't get this kind of federal money all the time. Like last time we got it, we paid from Maple River to the front of the line, like Jason said. And it makes the trail so much nicer. And Saturday, they had Ragbri here sponsoring a ride from here to whatever, maybe up in Greta. Did they go up in Greta? And, you know, there's a lot of people from out of town. I saw Woodbury and Sac County and Calhoun County, but there's, you know,
They had 250 riders.
so.
So your guys' initial thought right here, I just want to recap this, is to do the paving from Swan Lake over to Lear, and then in the future do from Lear to Maple River.
Because obviously this grant only, you can only go up to 1.2 million, so obviously if we did those extra 2 miles, that would be push over that number. So. But that would leave a smaller chunk to do in the future, that we, 2 miles, hopefully maybe do that locally somehow, or if we can't get another grant. So, but if we could knock out as much of it we can with $1 million, and leave a smaller section to do down the road. We're just kind of doing in kind of the stages of how it was done originally as far as age goes. So actually from Lear up to Maple River would be the newest. And it's not in as bad a shape. So we're trying to do the worst sections, and if it's 3 or 4 years down the road before we get the rest of that done, or 5 years down the road, and obviously we'll have to age more than. So yeah, that's what we're looking at doing.
So what you're needing is just a commitment from us to do.
Right, and like I said, this could be in FY23. It'd have to be in FY22, because that would allow us to do, I guess that would allow us to do it either in the fall of 22 or the spring, summer of 23, as long as it's finished by September of 23. To do the project.
Earliest
You might remember that, right?
Earliest would be the fall of 22.
So that would get us into FY23.
Did I see somewhere where you want a resolution on this?
They need a resolution to send with the grant application. Which doesn't need to be done today, it can be done next.
Chris said he prepared those.
Is like even like the trail through the city, is that considered the county's trail?
Any other questions?
Well, I'm not against this, don't get me wrong. I have some concerns. We have a jail project that's not finished. We have our eyeball on some remodeling in this building that we have no cost on. we're gonna look at later putting a sizable amount on a new roof over at the Fricky building, that money's not been discussed where it's coming from yet. We've got a lot of wants, and I'm not saying this isn't a good project. I think it's a really good project, and it should be really considered if you get a chance to leverage some money. That's a smart way to go. It went from 50 to 100 this morning, and I just kind of had some concerns about that a little bit, I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to beat it down, I'm just trying to think out loud, and I think all you know that we've got some expenses sitting out there that we thought are unknown yet.
Well, we've got more unknowns too.
Yeah.
Because I just talked to the sheriff and our bunks, guess where they go,
Prison index.
Prison industries, and they're
So now
not
we're-
gonna need it now.
Yeah, so we're gonna be looking at 40% to 50% increase there. And you need to move this along, looks sounds to me like you may, what, you say 17? And you gotta get it written yet, that's time consuming.
Just out of curiosity, Jason, how much money does conservation add back to the general fund at the end of the year?
Oh,
I think last year was like $380,000.
380,000, somewhere in there.
Which is essentially a tax relief.
Well, you gotta look at their expenses too. 'cause-
True, but you wouldn't have a profit. What other entity or what other department that we have actually provides profit?
I don't think you can sit in and provide a profit.
And I get it, most of them are services that we
Yeah. I mean,
provide,
it's just
and I get
service.
that. I honestly, I'm behind this. I think it's a great project. If we can get the city to commit the same amount that we do. I don't see, and you could even get creative with it. You can do a fundraiser. There's a lot of bike riders that would probably do some fundraising for it too, and leveraging the federal dollars. It doesn't get much better than that. My other question though, plan B, is if you don't get the federal funding, does this go to on hold then? Because you'll be out the money?
I mean, depends on, like, for example, the Swan Lake Trail. Obviously, it was a $590,000 project, so we applied for, I don't even, it was, my predecessor actually did the application. So I don't know exactly the amount they applied for, but obviously they only got 250,000. So that difference had to be made up, and this board gave 75,000. Tom and our foundation raised 98,000 privately. So, I mean, depending on how far that number is away, or we scale back the project and say, okay, so we got $500,000, what can we go with that? I mean, obviously, if we don't get the grant at all, then that 100,000 doesn't need to be going anywhere, so. But, I mean, it all hinges on actually getting the grant, so. So if you say yes and we don't get the grant, then 100,000 stays in local option, or
The opportunity of federal money, like, just doesn't come by very often.
That's
well,
the only
especially
reason
for.
that I'm a supporter of right now.
And I guess the reason we really wanted to jump on this one specifically is it did mention rehab resurfacing, which.
Yeah, that's
And
the
Jack
part.
and Mike can probably attest, it's good, it's easy, you guys see all the, who wins those awards, and it's typically new projects, new trail construction that gets awarded those dollars.
Just see those foundations and group help you fund the first time when you build a new trail. They expect you to maintain it and replace it when it needs to be maintained and replaced. So yeah, this is a unique opportunity for us.
Well, that's the
We
first
just,
thing.
we just really feel that if we can get a local, at least a 20% local match component, plus with what we're gonna throw in as in kind, you know, if that number, depending on where we get to, if that number is 75,000, that the conservation board's gonna do an in kind work, you know, that all makes that grant application look a whole lot better, so.
We have an opportunity to do this over 2 fiscal years. If we match 100,000, we do 50 in 22 and then 50 in 23. Pay for it, carry the money over.
Well, that's what got me was the fact that you could, because I know that there historically have been grants that were basically for initial construction and not for maintenance. So I would,
I'm not saying this is specifically for rehab, because there, I
Right.
mean, new trail construction qualifies as well. but-
right, and
but
that's
it was
gonna,
specifically mentioned in their resurfacing and rehab, so.
and I
I'm
think
hoping
that's,
maybe they look at those projects a little bit closer, especially if we got a lot of local support for it. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I'm hoping that
Well,
that grant application looks really good.
the other thing is, I think we gotta grab opportunities like this because let's face it, the trail fees ain't gonna take care of the maintenance.
No,
It's gonna be-
they're
it's
just,
gonna have to
they're
be
just
extra money.
the general
Yeah,
maintenance,
and
upkeep, basically.
I agree with what's been said, that these opportunities don't come very often, but, and I know what he's saying too, but I do think we have a pretty healthy local option balance. What we got in local option right now? First, 2 years from now, that's all we got to do.
Last I looked, I think it was 1.2.
1.2.
I think it's higher than that.
And whatever I did in March, because April's isn't done yet.
Rich has got it right there.
So, and this is
March balance,
curiosity question.
March balance is 1.9.
Oh.
Um,
Don't ask me.
In the past, when people apply for like these grants, how many applications, do you guys get to know that number,
I
like
love
how many
all that.
applications are sent in?
Oh,
Probably 15 to 20.
yeah,
And Chris will do a good job, right? And like with the grant, I just,
Is this just state or?
this is
national?
state.
It's just state?
But it's federal dollars, correct?
But it's 5 million just for the state of Iowa, right?
Yes.
I was just kind of curious on how many grants you're up against.
And honestly, there's other grants out there. I sat on the REAP committee for quite a while. This would, be part of that. The 200,000, we could ask them to help with that or try to expand it. And those are competitive too.
Well, the 2020 Sauk Rail Trail passes generated $21,000. And that's considerably more than what it has been in the past. And I think Jesse's been working hard on that, getting companies involved. Correct?
She has, going around the businesses and,
Yes.
yes.
I know Farmer Blacken.
Farmers.
Yeah.
Farmers.
You know, so
were
I
the
think-
First ones that jumped on board and
I think
started
that's,
doing it with their employees, so.
yeah, I think that's one thing we have to think about too, is that, trails are used much more than they have been in the past. I mean, just what you had this last weekend, but also Carroll County individuals. I mean, you go out to Swan Lake on a nice afternoon and there's cars parked all over and the trail's full of people walking. So we're serving, it's a service to the Carroll people. It's a nice, it's a consideration actually for people who are moving. Can I be close to a trail? Can I jump on a trail? So I support this. I think it's a good thing. As far as what we're putting in this compared to what we put in around Swan Lake, this is a much better deal, I think, for the miles that you're getting out of, and we're sharing it with partners.
Right.
With the city.
And I think anytime you can get a partnership between the city and the county on a project, I think that obviously looks better on a grant application too, so.
And as far as what you guys mentioned about other expenses coming up, well, it's just like the vaccination program that we have and public health. Look at how many individual people that these services help as compared to, granted, we need a roof on the Fricky building, and we need probably to move some things around here, but those things don't necessarily help people. And these things do, as far as I'm concerned. Not that stuff doesn't have to be done, but, I think that sometimes we get away from what the county's really goals are and serving people. And this is one of those that I think I have to support for that reason.
What's the life expectancy of the current asphalt if this money wouldn't become available? I mean, it's getting rough, like Tom said, in a lot of places, but
This section's, I think, going on 22 years old, so.
I mean, at some point, we would have
And
to,
it's only,
in the near future.
it's only 3 to 4 inches thick, so it really has met its life expectancy in my opinion.
A lot of cracks in your edges, keep moving in closer, so people are passing each other closer. Because I'm guessing it was 8 foot when it started, and there's some sections are probably 7.
6.5.
You know, Dean, you mentioned service to the trail people. I go beyond that. I go what brings people to Carroll. Last year, I ran into a lady from Garner, Iowa, and she said, we came down for a weekend with my husband. And she said, we just left there, we stayed at the bed and breakfast. They went to the brewery. She had great things to say about the trail, you know, going on it. So we need to upkeep that, so, you know, up that. So it brings people in that we don't even know about. That
Well,
stay places.
yeah, you're right.
They do like to get out. People.
Yeah, you're right, Tom. And here's a really crazy one was last year about this time when almost exactly. There was a couple from Indiana up by the depot up there. I was doing some work on the depot, and there were some people up there that were from Indiana. You know, that they decided, well, if I'm in the COVID thing, we're going to do some traveling and we're going to take our bikes with us. So they found out that they could find out about the South Rail Trail, and they had nothing but comments on it.
I hate to say it, but I used to not be a big trail fan. And probably the best thing that helped me convince me on trails was being involved in the sewer system, and that was in Maple River. Because when we were out there, I was shocked the number of people that actually used that trail. So it did change my attitude, and when I travel south, I see what's on that one, that Autumn one, South Autumn. But I agree, these are opportunities that come up once in a great while. I'm willing to make a commitment. Not that I like to spend money, but you gotta grab the opportunity, it's a good way to leverage money.
Yeah, I think that's what you gotta look at it, it's leveraging money, so.
I did get a couple calls from, I will say from a couple farmers who live along the trail that were, I said, well, this won't affect that part of the trail. And they said, okay, then I'm all right with it. So it's not that there isn't pushback,
So you just want a verbal commitment from us today, or?
Well, I don't know how you guys, how do you want to do it, I guess?
Well, you could just have a general consensus and then put it when the resolution's ready.
Yeah, because I didn't say we can't prove it until we get the resolution.
And it sounds like he's working on that, so.
Does anybody have any heartburns on this?
Well, I want to know what the money is. Is it 100,000 for fiscal year 23, or is it 100,000 right away? In 22.
I would like to make it flexible myself.
Like it what?
Flexible. That would make the commitment that we will have,
Well,
we will give it to them on the other term if they get the grant. This is all hinged on if they get the grant.
right. And I would rather push it to 23. It gives us a little more time to be quicker on our feet if we see something that I don't anticipate any large things, but it's just like you're talking about.
That's why this morning I came up.
Yeah.
Well, and when I look back at the, the $1.9 million that we have sitting in there, that's going to go over 200,000, or over 2 million within the next 30 to 60 days. And so this is one of those good projects that I think.
And our refund from the one project over at Glidden, that's gonna end there shortly, isn't it? For Glidden? maybe they have, right?
No, they, just a little bit left.
How much?
We'll collect that in September. Last
But
time.
then they can start paying taxes. too.
Yeah, and
But it
it's,
won't be going to Little Farm.
Right.
I think it's like $38,000.
That's what I thought.
I'm a little
Well-
nervous to say that since I was so far off.
I think you're right, Courtney.
I mean,
It's pretty cool.
I think they figured
however,
this
however
out.
you want to do it would be fine. The only thing that could come up if we get the grant would be how soon the engineers
The
want to
commitment.
start on the preliminary engineering and design, so we can get it to bid, obviously. Some of that might happen in FY '22.
Well,
Depending on how
if you
soon
want
they
to
want
split
to
it over
start.
2 years, that's fine. If you want to do it all over one, I just assume do it over 23 years, so we've got room to maneuver a little bit here. But we very well could be in good shape if we're using lots of local option sales tax to buy down mental health too. And at the end of this week, that could be a whole different picture. I'm not saying for the good, but I'm just saying that picture could look a lot differently.
And I hope you're wrong.
I
I don't think she's wrong.
I think we may see that, but, so,
It's gonna be, that's not a good deal. I don't see what the tax is.
but it changes the way we budget money, so.
Well, I think the general consensus, I know you
I
have
support
some more, but I think you have a commitment from the board and how we fund it going forward, we'll figure that out, whether it's a split or. Now we just need the city to come up with about 200.
250. It's gonna be a cool morning.
No, let's
Get it
not,
out.
let's not. So.
All right.
Oh,
Good enough.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And get that resolution.
I will make this known right away.
Thanks, Mr.
I
Carter.
will support this.
No, that's fine.
I'm not trying to beat you up.
No, I completely
Yeah.
understand.
I'm just trying to look forward. to it. Thank you.
I do say I do want to.
The only thing you're.
Good seeing you.
Okay, you're down here.
I did, well, I was kind of last there, so. You and
We do greatly appreciate that, so.
But we'll have a meeting out at your new shelter at some point.
Oh, come on. now.
Anytime.
All right, well, on the agenda.
Number 3, payable.
Okay, next we'll go to payable. Any question on the payables?
I had a few, but they were answered prior to the meeting. If there's no question, I'll go ahead and approve the payables. Let me get the correct date here.
Does anybody else have any other questions on the payable?
This thing could have been really, really, light, if we didn't have baiting in there and. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
You
didn't
know.
know what 600 and something,
82.3% complete.
632.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and second to approve, the payable. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, next is approval of plat. I think this is a plat that several of us have questioned and got our answers.
What are the answers? I haven't saw the replies.
There was actually a contract. Property is being sold to the property owner in front of it, so they have.
Oh, okay.
It's all one piece.
Lot 1 and lot 4 will become lot 1 after the sale.
But my concern was that it was gonna be land.
Lot 1 and 1 6. I'm sorry, 6. That's right, you're right.
So is there any other questions on this plat?
No, I think everything got straightened out on it, and it's pretty obvious what's going on. I'll make a motion to approve that plat. I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Next we have is approval of Class C liquor license for 4RS Tavern in Roselle, Iowa. everything seems to be in order, and I don't think we've got any issues there, so I will make a motion to approve that license.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Kind of run close in time, now, aren't they? You get that license? May 1st?
Oh, yeah. It expires in 4 days,
Yeah, it's phased in the system.
but it's done.
Yeah.
But that's an online application, is that correct?
I guess so.
But I don't know how much time the state needs to approve. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Next, we have the Carroll County DPA program, CPG housing. And that's basically a request for client approval. Courtney, do you want to?
Yeah, she apologized. This should have been on last week when we did all the other stuff, but I mean,
It is related to last week. though.
yes, it is. So I guess the abbreviated version is they have a client who's eligible and is applied. But there is an employee who is related to this person. And you can see in the letter that they have really no direct ties to the program itself, but being said there is a conflict because they are family. They wanted to make the board aware of it. Doesn't sound like it's going to be an issue. I think she said here, the state had no issue with it, but since it's the county's program, the county has to be okay with it too. Or, yeah, you can see in that second paragraph towards the bottom, IEPA did not have any objections with the client participating in the program as long as the client meets all the eligibility requirements.
What were your days? We say we have no problem with them applying. Did you make the motion?
No, I don't know that we need to, do we?
I think she's asking.
Yeah, I think we'll have to.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the client approval.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Okay, next we have is discuss the Fricky Building roof repairs.
Okay, I can't believe it, but I told Zach about 9:45 and it's 9:46.
I
So I'm guessing he's gonna be in here.
Hung up just a little bit.
Dean, have you
Everybody got
seen
that
these?
close.
Get in here, we're
Estimates.
waiting.
I know, I-
Yeah.
I apologize for not sending those out. He was meeting with somebody on Friday that was gonna take a look at those, kind of give him some insight on them, and I didn't get them back, so that's why we're seeing them today.
Mr. Honor, I want to explain.
Perfect. Sit over here so I can talk.
You wanna?
Okay, you want to go over the both, sir? They're all the same?
No. So, with the Fricky building, I was able to come up with 4 bids. Right off the bat, you can kind of cross off 2 of them. The first one being Brinks Exterior. They are doing a bare bones job is what they quote us for, and they are the most expensive. So I kind of pushed that one out. The next one is Central States Roofing. They got offices in Ames and Fort Dodge, Des Moines. They are also expensive. The thing I didn't like about them as well was they were leaving the existing rubber membrane down, which after I've talked to a few people with more expertise in this than me, that's kind of a no-no. It's good to get that out, see if you got anything mold in your plywood or anything like that. So I kind of canceled them out right away too. That leaves us with 2 different companies. One is Elevate Roofing. They are out of Denison. They are the old RL Craft company that was over there. And then the other company is For Sure Roofing, and they are out of Des Moines. So for the most part, apples to apples, they're doing the same job. The only difference is For Sure Roofing is doing 1.5 inches of insulation on the roof, where Elevate has it quoted for an inch. So there's a half-inch difference there. With that, Elevate's pricing is a little cheaper. They are at $34,773. For Sure Roofing is at $36,979.
So what's that extra half inch get you?
Let's see, and I've got a call into both companies. More so to Elevate to see if they would do the half inch.
The 1.5.
Yes, where that would put them as far as price wise then too. Another key factor is Elevate Roofing is offering a 20-year manufacturer's watertight warranty. So Elevate Roofing, 20 years. For Sure Roofing is offering a 15-year manufacturer warranty.
Well, how much installation is up to now?
The existing is, it's on one of these.
There's installation up to right now, I don't know what extra I have.
That's why I just didn't know what the.
It says lay 1 inch over the existing 2 inch, so it must be 2 inch up there already. I think the only issue they might be worried about though is once they start taking, we've had leaks on this roof for years and years and years. So there might be some moldy issues, there might be some plywood issues. That's just kind of a deal that they're not gonna know until they get into. So,
We did budget, I mean, when we talked about this quite a while ago, so I put $40,000 into a budget amendment already. So that's earmarked to spend in fiscal '21. So if we don't get going on this, obviously we're gonna have to do something different to move it to next year, but
Well,
those were both within where we were at, so.
and I think it's been leaking and we need to get that thing resolved.
Well, what I heard that they have to put buckets in the DHS to get the water.
That's no way to pump.
No, I mean, no.
I see the Elevated has also got an option in it too, right? As far as the,
they actually both do.
on that edging, the steel.
On the steel, yeah, well, that's their honor, and that's to go, that bumps you down to a 15. So if you subtract $2,479 to reuse existing cap metal, then that changes it to a 15-year warranty rather than 20.
I would just leave it all new.
Absolutely, yep. Like I said, I've got calls into both these companies. The questions I had for them were the insulation issues, whether that half inch is a game changer, if that's something we need to have both of them at. And then the next question I had for them was start time. I mean, if one of these guys can't get to us till September or something, I feel like that's an issue. I feel like this is something that, yes, as you said, needs to be done sooner than later. The one big thing I like is Elevate's from Denison. With these warranties, I got a feeling, so in 3 years, if we have a leak, it's gonna be a lot easier to get somebody from a half hour away to come here and fix it than somebody from an hour and a half.
And they give you the 20-year warranty too.
Right, exactly.
I don't know that I'd worry about that half inch.
Well, that half inch insulation could easily be the difference in the $2,000 price.
Right.
The $2,200.
Yes. Yep. I would agree.
So probably make you a little more efficient with that extra half inch, but how much more efficient? Is it $2,600 up front over 15, 20 years? Is that much value? I would assume it would be, but.
Right.
They might still come in under, for sure,
Yeah.
with the admin expense.
So did you say there's insulation in there now? Is that gonna come up or is that gonna stay down?
That's gonna stay.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
So we're just adding to the insulation.
Absolutely. Yep.
From 2 to 3 or 2 to 3.5.
Yes.
And I'm okay probably with 3 too, so.
So what is that 1 inch gonna be a real big difference? and protection.
Well, I think an inch would, it will.
Bit,
Legendary.
half inch.
I don't know you gain that much.
Or I mean, a
for
half,
half
I'm
inch.
sorry.
Well, and I think probably what they're doing is, I'm sure they would rather work on a new surface than an old surface,
Well,
you know,
just
which makes a
overlay.
lot of sense. to me.
Overlay, basically.
Yeah,
And what they do is they get it more uniform.
yeah,
Yeah. That's,
and this is a rubber membrane, correct?
Correct, yep. And both companies are good. For sure, Roofing's actually doing the jail right now. They're here. Elevates, they've done projects all over in Carroll. I mean, they're,
Okay.
like I
so
said,
Andrews didn't even, are they even good?
They're not. in
they
They're
don't
not in
exist.
business.
They don't exist anymore.
No.
No.
Well, I don't have any problem with Elevate.
And like I said, I don't know if this is something where you want me to get back to you guys after I get a call back from them on the installation and the start time.
I think those both factors. Start time, huge.
Yeah, yep,
I agree, Scott. I think, start time, if you have a hard turn on the start time, then you probably, I don't care if you jump because for the $22,000, I wouldn't care if you jump because of the better start time.
Right.
But I would think that we'd probably be wise to try Elevate and see if they. can
With a
get it
20-year
in the
warranty
schedule.
instead of 15, I think
Yeah.
that would be,
Yep.
I mean, just see what the cost is for the extra half inch, but
right.
And they're close.
Yeah, I would agree.
The comeback calls, that's the big thing.
Yeah, like you said, I like the closeness. I just think
So we
it's under warranty. They're not gonna make any money anyways, so it's even gonna be harder to get them here, but much less 2 hours from Des
So how do
Moines.
you
So
want to have a food that? maybe-
let him find out answers about start time and vote on next week.
Well, we probably should, or you want to wait to vote on to next week?
Well, this is, you're probably gonna pick the person that can start.
The earliest.
Yeah.
I'm would lean that way.
If you guys.
I mean, you could make a motion and say you're gonna go with Elevate,
So-
depending on, with the
Well,
understanding
that's
that
what I
they can
was
start.
thinking,
but-
maybe make a motion to approve Elevate subject to this conversation.
On the start time.
and
Start time and the extra half inch or just start
I
time?
don't know, I think the
Okay.
biggest thing is start time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that way, I guess I want to keep this thing moving.
Yeah.
and
Mike got
like
the 5-year longer warranty and the closer small.
Courtney said, it's, granted, it's been dry lately, but their buckets are up on top of shelving where they have to call me every time they get full. So I'm running over there grabbing them because they're too heavy to dump. And it hasn't been, thankfully, that building's been, they haven't been working from there a whole lot. The DHS office has only a handful of ladies, but it's
All right.
still.
Is there a motion to that effect then?
I'll make a motion that we accept that bid from Elevate for $34,733.
34.
$34, sorry.
No, 34,000,
733,
773,
70.
773.
Sweet.
Okay, and I'll probably just let Courtney know then, and then maybe she can let you guys know on
I'll second it.
calls I
It's
get.
been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Anything else there?
Should do it.
Thanks, Zach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Get the bucket brigade going. Maybe we'll work on that roof, maybe it'll rain.
I was gonna say, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, next we have committee reports.
I can go first. Last week I had the daycare meeting at noon on Monday. Really nothing has changed. They're gonna have some summer help from college kids and things like that. So their positions are pretty open, but once they go back to school, they'll be looking for some full-time help. They did go ahead and start, they're gonna get an awning for outside. They did a fundraiser for it. That was about it for last week, and I do not have anything official meetings on the radar for this week.
Last week, Tuesday, I had CADC. The topic of conversation there was retail business discussion and fingers that when they go there to shop, where do they go after that? That was the topic of conversation. very informative, I thought. Then, was about all I had last week. This week, Wednesday, I have Rolling Hills and Holstein. And that will be, there are two topics of discussion there. We've opened up another round of CARES Act funding, and I see there's about 17 applications for some of that funding. So that discussion will be Wednesday, and then the funding of iStart, which is it's a program for early identification for mental issues. That is not a core. It is a good program, and that is being funded now, but that funding is coming up, and the discussion whether we will drop it or not, it's about $100,000 to us, and with some core pieces that we don't have funded yet or started with the children. That $100,000 will be a bigger player in that. So I start the discussion whether we continue with it or not will be probably a good discussion. Then on Friday, I have a conference call for the Western Iowa workforce development. I just won't be too big a call. There's much interest going on.
Okay, last week after our board meeting, Rich and I met with John Warden and Dr. Spacey as far as the attorney office. And then after that, in the afternoon, I went out and looked at a complaint on a gravel road that to me was non-existent. And then on Tuesday, I had the CADC board meeting, as Rich did, and he covered that pretty well. It's amazing how they can track these, where people are at, it's all by your cell phone. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. And then on Wednesday, I sat in on the Certified Iowa Supervisors meeting. Basically, they talked about the CEUs and how you get them and how you know what you got and things like that. It was a short meeting, and then there was also some conversation on on different topics. Then on Thursday, NACO, I sat in on a webinar, the full conference call. And in regard to the recovery funds, I think probably the biggest thing I got out of there, and I think Courtney, we've done this before, we've had some issues with this SAMs and DUNS numbers. Do we have both of them now?
As far as I know, but
You might want to check into that.
our DUNS number's fine, it's the SANS thing.
That and Sarah's all both. But anyway, we need to have that, and probably also a tax side. Those are the biggest things if and when we start applying for that. And then that was Thursday. And then Friday, I had a Yes Center board meeting. We went through the financials, they were good. We had 73,000 in payable of accounts receivable. But we're doing good there. Transportation is a big issue. We did have one car that got sideswiped the night before up there. We're gonna try to fix it because it's one of our bigger cars for that one couple of bigger staff members use. As they consider it better, so that's probably get fixed up. It was not their fault. We also got a Dodge Caravan from, I think it was Dickinson County, get us that. So we're gonna get that retrofitted to do more, but the transportation is just through the ceiling. The day on Friday, they had 10 in there and they had an average count of 8.34. I am supposed to be getting an audit that will be coming. And then one other thing I was going to tell you, this next week, I have policy council meeting on Tuesday night, and then Thursday night is new opportunities for them. That's what I have lined up at this point. I do have the audit here for new opportunities. I will pass this around if you want to look at it. This is kind of a short version of it, but it was a clean audit. And the other thing was last week I did get a letter from Iowa West Foundation. They wanted to let us know what monies they've given out in Carroll County, and that's 2017 was in Carroll for Kellen's Kingdom was $10,000. 2019 was in Two Meadows for Paul Assured Lab renovation, 50,000, and in 2019 Manning got 3,000 for playground. But Iowa West Foundation is the gambling foundation out of Ogden County. So just for your information. That's mine.
We're still getting money from them?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's I think through this whole thing, there's outside of Potawatomi County, I don't know where I read this. It wasn't in this letter, but I think in this time frame, more than 2 million were outside of Potawatomi County. I don't know where I read it. Oh, here it is. We provided 1.5 million in grants to Iowa counties other than Ottawa. For most of them, the state of Ottawa.
Yeah. I can go next. I didn't have any scheduled meetings last week, but I did help out at the vaccination clinic on Thursday. I think everything went very well there. A lot of discussion continues on public health and board of health. This week, I don't have anything scheduled, but that can always change. And the Kentucky Derby is on Saturday. So everything's back to normal. You know, last year was, I think it's September. I think the Belmont Stakes was first, and then Preakness, and then so it's all. So yeah, we got hopefully things getting back to normal.
Last week, I listened in, I was at with Gene on Wednesday. This week, I'm gonna meet with Carroll, ambulance board on Thursday. And meet with Zach on secondary roads, hopefully Wednesday or Thursday.
Rich, you have the newspaper right here.
Anybody call in, Ben?
No comment, no consent? Okay. What, do you have anything? What we got next week? Probably the resolution from.
Well, yeah, and then, our budget amendment. And y'all will be here with the IT quarterly report and hopefully some quotes on some free hires last week.
Quotes on what?
Phones, a phone system for the.
We were gonna do that.
Can we just do that? There it is.
You're talking to the wrong person. So, and it's gonna be something that would come out of his budget. Yeah, so he can explain that better, and I think they're having some issues. I don't want to speak for him, but,
Well, I just think, I think I'm well agree with you. that it-
Yeah,
Like
maybe it's been longer ago than I.
it's been longer than 2 years. So,
It
But,
has been?
yes,
What was it? Oh. So,
And the support for the phone system is going down pretty soon. Where's that?
there's other issues at play. It's not just
I
that
would,
we're trying to upgrade. There's some issues, and you're welcome to talk about.
I don't think you've done anything.
so
That's fine.
Well, and as soon as we bought them, let's say, the company got bought out, and then we had to get a different service agreement. So they would honor that, it's gonna expire, like you said,
Oh, I
so.
do remember
That happened about 2 months, so it's been almost 5 years. So we've got Toshiba now, right? And we had Avaya or
We had a buy-in.
Avaya. Yeah. All right.
So he's gonna talk about that, he can obviously explain.
Sure.
in more detail.
This is the actual.
He knows in Western Iowa, every go to Centra or anything like that. Where it's office based. Yeah, we had that discussion here. And at that time, it was, they really couldn't put out a good bid. But I think that's, yeah, okay, because I think the idea is very good.
We had a lot of success with it when we did our.
Yeah,
From
you know,
small to bigger.
yeah, and, I think I think the upfront cost was pretty substantial, but the savings to the county was really good.
In the long haul. Yep.
And we got rid of all the
maintenance
equipment.
fell there, there was a lot of things that was good.
Have you know that he made any contact with Western Iowa to see if they?
I don't know.
About that. That might be something to look
Yeah,
at.
it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not there, it's not there.
All right, if there's nothing else, we're voted for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Then move to second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.